The day I proposed, I had prepared a fireworks display for my fiancée that would be the talk of the town, but she wanted to impress her first love, Jonathan. So she tied my 10-year-old golden retriever to a rocket launcher and fired it. I watched helplessly as the dog was blown to pieces. I lost my temper and confronted her. As a result, she and Jonathan locked me and her in a warehouse full of fireworks that had already been set alight. At the critical moment, Sophia, my childhood sweetheart, rushed in to save me despite the danger. As a result, she was burned. I was deeply moved. I immediately proposed to her, but after we got married, I accidentally discovered her and Jonathan kissing intimately in our basement. You went to so much trouble to marry him, just to destroy the Wilson family business one day. Sophia sighed. This is the only way you can return to the Wilson family with a clear conscience. I'll also repay your mother's kindness, Jonathan said worriedly. If Anthony finds out the truth, he'll hate you. Sophia's eyes flashed with impatience. So what? I saved him and married him. It's enough to pay off the debt with my whole life. Just when I was feeling desperate, the factory manager suddenly called me. Anthony, something's happened. Someone wants to blow up our fireworks factory. The workers are in a panic. My heart suddenly tightened. That was the hard work of my mother's family over generations. No one can touch it. When I arrived at the entrance to the fireworks factory, I saw several demolition experts in full protective gear. They were pushing away the employees who had gathered to watch. They shouted, "Go away, go away." Sophia spoke up. The fireworks factory must be blown up. No one can stop it. I quickly pulled out my business license and said, I am the legal representative of the fireworks factory. Without my permission, no one can touch it. But the men just gave me a contemptuous glance. How can just anyone claim to be the legal representative? Hurry up and go. Don't interfere with our work. I looked at my clothes. Indeed, I had rushed over. I hadn't even changed out of my pajamas. I continued. I am indeed the legal representative of this company. You can check it online right away. The other party retorted, Don't be ridiculous. This fireworks factory is a gift from Sophia to Jonathan. If you don't believe me, just take a look. One of them took a document and slapped it right in my face, accusing me of lying. I took a closer look at the contents. I was immediately speechless. A transfer agreement for the fireworks factory. When did I sign this? But the end of the agreement was indeed in my handwriting, and I had even put my red thumbprint on it. I vaguely remembered. After the last meeting on the project, I got drunk. Sophia handed me a document. She said it was from the client. I signed it without thinking, but I fell into a trap. Just then, the demolition crew had already installed the bomb. The long-time employees of the factory were anxious. Anthony, you have to think of something. This is the brainchild of our old factory manager. Hundreds of employees in the factory depend on the fireworks factory for a living. If the factory is blown up, what can everyone do? I must not let it happen. The fireworks factory has just received 2 big orders. Now if my inventory is blown up, who will be responsible for the losses? I was about to call the police. Sophia suddenly appeared. What are you doing? Who told you to call the police? Sophia slammed the phone out of my hand. The fireworks factory must blow up today. Jonathan hated fireworks the most. Besides, I had already handed over the management of the fireworks factory to him. He has the right to decide what to do. I said angrily, You are not qualified to handle my fireworks factory. The transfer agreement was signed when I was not in my right mind. I resolutely disown it. See how angry I am. She immediately changed her tone to appease me. Anthony, I know you love fireworks the most, but right now Jonathan is in a special situation. Let's get rid of the fireworks first. After he gets better, I promise to let you reopen the fireworks factory. Before I could say anything, Jonathan's phone rang. Sophia picked up the phone. Her eyes were gentle like I'd never seen before. She said softly, Jonathan, you want to eat Yun Jai's ravioli? Okay, I'll bring it to you. She left in a hurry. Before she left, she told me to hurry up and blow up the fireworks factory. The workers at the fireworks factory sighed and said, Anthony just developed the Genai fireworks. It was specially designed for his wife. You have to destroy this too. Hearing this, my heart ached again. Jonathan is my father's illegitimate child. While my mother worked hard to run the fireworks factory, my father had another woman on the side. Later, Jonathan's mother came to my house pregnant and causing trouble. She made my mother so angry that she developed a chronic illness. She passed away a few years later. After that, I threatened to kill myself. That's what stopped my father from writing Jonathan into the Wilson family genealogy. But Jonathan still wouldn't stop. When I held a fireworks show for my former fiancée, they tied my dog Danny to the rocket. As a result, Danny died. Danny was the dog Sophia specially chose for me. After being blown to pieces, Sophia rushed over like crazy, hugged the remains of it and cried. She yelled, "You killed Danny and hurt my Anthony. I will never let you go even if I die." Every year when I go to pay tribute to my mother, Sophia will hug me and cry, swearing to be good to me for the rest of my life. But she spoke firmly. As soon as Jonathan returned home, she immediately went with him. I rubbed my stuffy chest and slipped the demolition crew a wad of cash. "Please, don't do it yet. I'll persuade my wife." The two of them looked at each other, reluctantly turned around and left. In fact, I had already made up my mind to separate from her. This toxic relationship I no longer want to continue. I wrote a divorce agreement, ready to give it to Sophia. I had just arrived home. I saw her leaning against Jonathan, eating fruit. Jonathan's mother was leisurely sipping tea nearby. When she saw me come in, Jonathan's mother, wearing the slippers I had just bought, said with a sarcastic expression on her face, "Oh, why is the young master of the Wilson family looking so listless and dispirited?" I lowered my face. I stared at the murderer of my mother in front of me and trembled. I said sternly, "Get out. This is my home. You are not welcome here." Jonathan's mother crossed her arms. She slapped me hard. She scolded, "Nonsense. The Wilson family's property will always belong to Jonathan. Even your wife fell in love with Jonathan. What are you?" Sophia was a little flustered when she saw me. She pulled me aside. She said, "It's not what you think. I'll explain it to you. Jonathan and his wife got divorced. He lives alone, and he has a severe panic disorder. I saw that he was lonely. Life is hard for him. So I let him and his son move in first." I coldly shook off her hand. "That's not important, but why did you lie to me and make me sign the transfer agreement and blow up the fireworks factory? That was my mother's lifelong work." Sophia guiltily turned her face away. "Your ancestors didn't leave Jonathan a penny. They were so selfish. The fireworks factory had to be closed, leaving the business entirely to Jonathan to run art exhibitions. Don't you know that he loves to paint? How could you ruin his dream because of a fireworks factory?" My heart felt like it had been punched. It seemed like a complete breakdown. "Calm down," I said softly. "Sophia, let's get a divorce." Sophia's eyes widened. Unbelievably, she said, "You want to divorce me over such a trivial matter? Who would agree to that?" I tried to suppress the sadness in my heart. The fireworks factory must not be allowed to happen. Millions of orders have been signed. How can I afford to pay for it if it explodes? I worked hard to make those fireworks. I didn't finish my sentence. Jonathan suddenly came over and grabbed my hand. He said, "Anthony, I understand that you hate me, but don't blame Sophia, or you can hit me." He grabbed my hand and flung it hard to the side. A new type of firecracker suddenly exploded on the ground. Jonathan turned pale with fear. He covered his chest and fell to the ground. Jonathan's mother stamped her feet in a panic. She shouted, "Oh dear, my poor son. Why did you hurt him? I'm not finished with you." Sophia stood nervously in front of Jonathan. She looked at me like I was her enemy. She said, "Don't you know that Jonathan has a phobia? He can't stand being scared. And you scared him with firecrackers. If anything happens to him, I won't let you off the hook." I watched Sophia hurry off with Jonathan while I stood there like a fool. There was a fireworks display 3 days later. Inside was my birthday present for Sophia, a specially commissioned firework. Destroying it would mean never seeing it again. I felt a pang of sadness. I insisted on moving the fireworks to the new rented warehouse. Sophia knew about it. She hurried over, angrily stopped my trailer. "Anthony, why do you still keep these annoying fireworks?" I took a deep breath, explained. "The fireworks display will start in 3 days. I can't break the contract. These fireworks were ordered in advance." Sophia's voice suddenly increased a lot. Are these fireworks more important than Jonathan? We can afford the liquidated damages. But Jonathan is your own brother. How can you be so heartless? I sneered. Only the children my mother has given birth to are my real brothers. Jonathan is a bastard. I have never owed him anything. Why should I ruin my hard work for him? As soon as Sophia finished speaking, she slapped me hard. I was knocked sideways. My face burned with pain. Everyone around us was too afraid to make a sound. They looked at us nervously. Sophia grabbed me by the collar. She spoke slowly and deliberately. You and your mother both owe him. If you hadn't insisted on holding him responsible for the death of a dog, he wouldn't have developed panic disorder. You ruined his life. I stared at the person in front of me. I was too shocked to speak. But he killed Danny. Danny was our dog for 10 years. Danny was someone you grew up with. How could you do this to him? Are you even human? My voice trembled. Every word was tinged with tears. Sophia only paused for a moment. Then she waved her hand impatiently. He was just an animal. He couldn't have lived for more than 10 years. He's dead. But Jonathan has developed a phobia because of your fireworks. What's going to happen to him for the rest of his life? Stop talking. Just do it. As soon as I finished speaking, I was pushed to the ground. The person in front of me seemed like a complete stranger to me. This person used to love animals. He always supported me in making fireworks. He even said he would record every one of my fireworks shows. Now, he looked fierce. He pushed me into the abyss. No, suddenly, a sharp pain shot through me. Someone had hit my hands with a wooden club with nails on it. The pain was almost unbearable. It felt like my bones were broken. My hands were covered in blood. My ears were buzzing. Everything was spinning before my eyes. When I was taken to the hospital, I could no longer hear anything. Sophia was busy looking after Jonathan in the next bed. I heard that he had a heart attack from the shock. Sophia called all the doctors on the floor. When it was my turn, there was only a young nurse with me. She showed me the diagnosis. It said neural deafness. I didn't know what to make of it. The nurse typed something on the computer and showed it to me. It said temporary neural deafness. Your family has already been informed. But she just left after listening to it. There was no reaction. I can't hear with my ears. Can I still move my hands? The nurse shook her head. He has multiple fractures in his hands. He can no longer hold a pen and work. At this time, Sophia rushed over. She looked at my diagnosis report and let out a sigh of relief. A little relief appeared in her eyes. I watched her tell me with her mouth. That's it. After your hands are broken, you don't have to make fireworks anymore. I'll always take care of you. I completely broke down. I yelled and screamed like crazy. But I couldn't hear anything myself. I suddenly remembered what my mother had said before she left. Anthony, my biggest regret in life is not seeing the fireworks you designed. After I'm gone, can you set off a bouquet for me? As I thought about this, my tears just kept flowing. I made up my mind to protect my mother's fireworks factory. The only way to do that was to sneak into the warehouse where the fireworks were stored. I used the trailer to transport the fireworks out the back door. I hurried with the people, but I accidentally leaked the news while moving the goods. Sophia and Jonathan came with a group of people to block me. I had just set foot in the fireworks warehouse. They blocked the door. Sophia's face was very ugly. She questioned Anthony. Why don't you give up? Do you have to kill Jonathan? Jonathan said aggrievedly next to her. Sophia, I understand that Anthony hates me. My parents truly loved each other. He only wants to avenge his mother and hurt me. This is all my fault. If I die here now, it will make up for my sins. After saying this, he suddenly pulled out a knife. He slashed his neck. Don't do this. Sophia hurriedly patted the knife away. She gently comforted Jonathan, who had already cried into tears. He looked at me with hatred in his eyes. Urgently, what are you waiting for? Close the door. Set off the fireworks. The workers froze hesitantly, but the man is still inside. He won't go, no matter how much we persuade him. I was gambling on whether Sophia would relent because I hadn't left. But Sophia just hesitated for a moment and sneered. Anthony, I've given you your chance, since you're so attached to the fireworks. Then stay inside with them. The door slammed shut. Jonathan whispered from outside. Sophia, Anthony is still inside. He's so stubborn. Should we light the fire after a while? Sophia said coldly. HMPH. What a stubborn guy. Anyway, he can't hear me now. Let him stay inside and suffer a little. She wasn't sure. My neurotic deafness is just a reaction. It will go away after a rest. I slammed on the door and shouted for help, but the door had already been locked. My heart sank until I saw a burning torch thrown in from the outside. Instantly, the fireworks in the room exploded together with a loud bang. Sparks flew everywhere. The smoke filled the room. My heart stopped. I desperately shouted for help, but there were fireworks barrels all around. My voice was as small as a mosquito's chirp. Unconsciously, my mind went blank. I soon passed out. When I woke up again, I was already in the hospital. Sophia was sitting by the bed. She looked worried. Anthony, I'm sorry. I didn't know your hearing had recovered. The fire was so intense that day. I had a hard time getting you out, but now the fireworks factory is gone. You can live with me in peace from now on. I'll find someone to treat your hand. I closed my eyes with a heavy heart. In the end, I couldn't save my mother's fireworks factory. Maybe I overreacted. Sophia hugged me tightly. She said, Anthony, don't be too sad. Our mother's fireworks factory wasn't profitable. We'll work together in my business. It'll definitely make more money than this. My heart felt hollow. It took a while before I nodded in agreement. Sophia then let out a sigh of relief. She casually chatted with me for a while and was called away by Jonathan's phone call. I immediately contacted my childhood friend. I packed and sent the evidence I had prepared to the lawyer. My childhood friend's car quickly stopped in front of the hospital. I got in the car and left without hesitation. At that time, the weather was clear. The air was fresh. Today is the day for fireworks, but I will never be able to see it again. When I got on the plane, I quietly said goodbye to Sophia in my heart. I was especially looking forward to the moment when she discovered the cruel truth. Sophia was helping Jonathan choose materials. Jonathan wanted to hold an art exhibition. He also planned to use the Wilson family's influence to improve himself. I'm going to hold a family recognition banquet. Let all those sycophantic relatives of the Wilson family know. The Wilson family is now mine, Jonathan's. Sophia, you hear me? Buy some more designer bags for my mom. She has to look good in front of those people. Sophia looked at Jonathan's constantly talking mouth. It felt especially noisy. She had been hoping that Jonathan would get her a birthday present, but she had waited a long time. Jonathan had not mentioned a word about it. In contrast, Anthony had carefully prepared a birthday celebration for her every year, like the fireworks display. Sophia suddenly remembered something. Yes, the carer had already taken Anthony home. He should be preparing a birthday celebration for her right now. Thinking about this, Sophia's face eased a little. She immediately called the family's nanny. Auntie, please help Anthony prepare dinner today. It's my birthday. I'll go back to dinner with Anthony tonight. The nanny said in surprise, but Mr. Anthony hasn't returned yet. Sophia frowned. That's impossible. He should have already arrived home. Did you not keep a close eye on him? The nanny was very anxious to hear this. It's true. I just returned from grocery shopping. I didn't see Mr. Anthony, but when I returned, it seemed that Mr. Anthony's friend had come by. Oh dear, his closet was empty. Sophia heard this and completely panicked. She frantically looked for Anthony, but she found that all the social media contacts had been blocked by him. Sophia turned pale, and Jonathan kept calling and urging her. Sophia, where are you? The relatives have already arrived at the restaurant. They are waiting for you. Sophia felt a strong sense of resentment well up in her heart. She said, I'm looking for Anthony. You deal with it yourself. Anthony insisted on the other end of the line. No, you must bring a gift to meet my mother. Today is an important day for me to return to the Wilson family. If you don't come, we will never meet again. As soon as the phone hung up, Sophia angrily cursed, but she immediately drove to the hotel. Jonathan and Jonathan's mother were surrounded by relatives. They looked arrogant. These people are the best at reading the wind. I heard that the Wilson family's fireworks factory has been taken over by Jonathan and turned into an art exhibition. They immediately began to fawn over the Wilsons, leaving everyone else out in the cold. Sophia looked at Jonathan's smug face. It made her feel very uncomfortable. She remembered how much Anthony had valued the fireworks factory. She silently made up her mind. Once this was over, Anthony must be made to redesign the fireworks. If that didn't work, they would move abroad and start another fireworks factory there. Just as she was thinking this, the door suddenly opened. A man walked in and said, "Hello, I'm Mr. Anthony's lawyer. I'd like to show you something." Jonathan's face suddenly turned white. He yelled, "Get out. This is such an important occasion. How can you, an outsider, come in?" But the lawyer ignored him. He laid out the evidence one by one. This is Jonathan's mother. She is suspected of being involved in Anthony's mother's death. This is evidence that Anthony's mother funded Sophia's education. It includes proof of funding and a letter of recommendation from the school principal. This is a recording of Jonathan's conversation with the doctor. He doesn't actually have panic disorder. All of this is a lie. After seeing all this evidence, Jonathan and Jonathan's mother were so scared that they didn't know what to do. They could only keep shouting. Sophia, on the other hand, looked surprised. Could it be that the person who had been sponsoring her all these years was Anthony's mother? The person who had written her encouraging letters in the past was actually Anthony. She shouted. She immediately found a photo of the letter on her phone. She compared it with Anthony's previous signature. Immediately afterwards, her eyes widened. "Sophia, help me. They're all bullying me." Jonathan cried and his face was covered in tears. He knelt in front of her and hugged her legs. Sophia, however, gave him a hard slap. "Jonathan, you even lied to me about having panic attacks. And how do you explain this? Didn't you say that the person who sponsored me back then was your mother? How come the remitter was Anthony's mother?" Seeing Jonathan being beaten, Jonathan's mother became anxious and grabbed Sophia by the hair. "How dare you hit my son? You're lucky my son even looks at you." And angry, Sophia lost her temper. She grabbed Jonathan's mother by the hair and slapped her hard several times. Jonathan also got a few good ones. She was tired from hitting and stumbled over to the side. "Please tell me where Anthony is." The lawyer shook his head calmly and handed her the divorce agreement. "Mr. Anthony and you have nothing more to say to each other. Please sign the divorce papers as soon as possible." Sophia is shocked. More than anything, she is filled with regret. She can't believe it. He wouldn't. He loves me so much. How could he divorce me? This must be a fake, right? When Anthony calms down, he will definitely come back for me. Sophia grabs the divorce papers and tore them into pieces. She returns home in a daze. She contacts the private investigator again to find out where Anthony was. Looking at the empty house, she felt for the first time how much she had taken Anthony's presence for granted. But now, it seemed, it was all gone, and it would never come back. Sophia didn't hear from the detective. Instead, she received a letter from the former employees of the fireworks factory. Sophia received a phone call. "Sophia, we can't find Anthony anymore. What should we do with all this material in his office? Please come and have a look." Sophia immediately understood and immediately rushed to the fireworks factory office building. While the employees were sorting things out, they accidentally found a stack of fireworks design drawings. The fireworks were very beautiful. When they bloomed in the sky, they were as beautiful as a peacock's tail. Later, the pattern of Sophia and a heart would appear in the sky. Sophia was stunned when she saw the drawings. The employees of the fireworks factory felt distressed. They told Sophia that Anthony had spent half a month designing this fireworks overnight to prepare a birthday gift for her. Unfortunately, the entire stock was destroyed. It is estimated that this type of firework will never be made again. After hearing this, Sophia felt cold all over. She could picture Anthony sitting at the table, his face full of expectation. That was Anthony's favorite firework, but she had hurt him for a lying man. Not only did she injure his hand, she also destroyed his hard work. What had she done? Sophia suddenly screamed uncontrollably. At that moment, the phone rang again. She thought it was Anthony calling, but when she saw it was Jonathan on the caller ID, she burst into flames. "How dare you call me, you little..." Before she could finish her sentence, Jonathan hurriedly begged for forgiveness. "Sophia, please help me for the love I have for you. My mother is going to jail, and I have to pay a huge sum of money now. Please come to the company." Sophia hurried over. She saw several suppliers who had previously worked with the fireworks factory, and the people from the company they work for were at the door. "Sophia, why did you suddenly break the contract? This fireworks display is very important to us. You know, why none of the 300 barrels of fireworks we ordered have been delivered. I heard you destroyed them all. Where is Anthony? I want to see Anthony. Otherwise you have to pay 10 times the penalty." Sophia's face was stern. She didn't say a word. She wanted to find Anthony more than anyone else. At that moment, an old employee of the fireworks factory spoke slowly. "What Anthony? The fireworks factory now belongs to the Wilson family." "No, that place is no longer a fireworks factory. Jonathan, didn't you say you had the management rights? Of course you have to pay the penalty. Just wait and see." Jonathan heard this. He was immediately scared and at a loss. "The penalty for this fireworks show is 100 million. Sophia paused and said, "I'll pay the penalty for the fireworks display." Jonathan froze for a moment. Then he tightly embraced Sophia and cried, "Sophia, I really didn't make the wrong choice. You are the best for me." After those people left, Sophia took Jonathan home. Jonathan instantly felt dizzy and fainted. Sophia sneered and said in a cold tone, "If you hadn't interfered, Anthony and I wouldn't have become like this. Now Anthony has suffered, I want you to pay back double." On a farm in Country A, I've just finished planting the last pot for a friend. Looking at the succulents all over the floor, I smile in satisfaction. At this moment, the boss comes over with a smile. "Anthony, I heard before that you are an expert in designing fireworks. I thought it was a waste of talent. I didn't expect you to be so good at planting flowers. I'm a little embarrassed." "Don't say that. If it weren't for you, boss, taking me in, I wouldn't have such a nice place to live. Of course, I have to take good care of these flowers and plants." The boss looked at my hands. He pitied me and gave me an extra sum of money to take care of the flowers. After settling down in a country, I could have lived a leisurely life on my savings. But I couldn't sit still. I always wanted to find something to do. Because of the serious injuries to my hands, I could no longer do the work of designing fireworks. I couldn't lift heavy objects either. There is a small flower shop downstairs from my home. The owner is an honest middle-aged man. He ordered the wrong kind of leaves for succulents. He was worried about how to plant them. I had kept succulents before, so I volunteered to help him solve this problem. The succulents I kept were all round and pleasing. They quickly attracted customers to this small shop that was about to close. The owner was very happy. He immediately decided to hire me as a shop assistant. I would take care of the succulents for him. In this way, my days in Country A gradually became more fulfilling. I also began to emerge from my previous depression. Suddenly, I received a message from my old friend on my phone. It was a surprise. He said, "Anthony, Sophia has been looking for you everywhere. She is so worried. She has contacted all our classmates and teachers." I was shocked. This is impossible. Sophia liked Jonathan so much. She should have signed the divorce agreement by now. She was planning to marry Jonathan. "Oh dear, I can't explain this to you. Watch the video." A video was immediately sent over. Sophia looked tired. She had asked around from house to house about me. She was lowly. It was completely unlike the proud Sophia of the past. She asked, "Have you seen Anthony? I'm his wife. Please tell me." But no one knew where I was, only my childhood friend knew. But when Sophia came to ask, he scolded her away. He said, "You didn't cherish it when he was here. Now that he's gone, you're getting all worked up." I sneered. I told my childhood friend not to pay any attention to her. But recently, my childhood friend kept talking to me about things back home. I later learned that Jonathan's mother had been bullied by her cellmate in prison and committed suicide. Jonathan has still not been found. Sophia had to pay a penalty for breaking the contract. She sold her startup company and borrowed money from everywhere to come up with the money. She still can't let it go. She tried every means to find out about me. Even my relatives were moved by her persistence. They took turns sending messages to my old number, urging me to change my mind. But I have taken all these people's actions to heart. I blocked them one after the other. It's ridiculous. My heart is already dead. Who is she putting on this show for? But I underestimated Sophia's persistence. It's only been a month, and she appeared in front of me again. Anthony. She ran to the door of the flower shop and excitedly shook my hand. I've finally found you, come home with me. Everyone around us looked on in amazement. Sophia looked very shabby, like a beggar. The owner asked me in surprise, Anthony, who is this? I was about to explain with a stern face, but Sophia suddenly embraced me. Anthony, I've missed you so much. I was wrong. Your mother supported me. You've always supported me. Please come back. I'll love you for the rest of my life. After hearing this, I couldn't help but think about the past. At that time, I was deeply hurt by Jonathan and his ex-fiancée. Sophia had vowed to protect me forever. But just a year later, she had completely changed her mind. She had left me with deep wounds. I said to her, Sophia, I've already given you the divorce papers. Please sign them as soon as possible, and don't ever contact me again. I pushed her away expressionlessly, but she hugged me even tighter. No, I will never divorce you. You are the person I love most in the world. You are all I have now, the love of my life. That's ridiculous. Shouldn't you be with your Jonathan now? He has a panic attack. Don't scare him to death. Hearing this, Sophia's face immediately changed. Don't talk about that person anymore. His panic disorder is all fake. He also hid a lot of bad things from me. You are the only person in my heart. Anthony, I have already taught him a lesson for you. Look. Sophia took out her phone and opened the photo album. When I saw the bloody photo, I almost threw up. There were 2 severed ears on the floor. Sophia said excitedly, These are Jonathan's ears. I cut them off. I also broke his hand. You don't know how he screamed. Anthony, I also avenged your mother's death. Does that make you feel better? My stomach suddenly churned. At that moment I realized, I don't know Sophia at all. She can hurt me for Jonathan without distinguishing between right and wrong. And now she is torturing Jonathan in my name. She always thinks only of herself. She never thinks of others. Sophia, you're so strange. Stay away from me. I didn't care about Sophia's sad expression. I pushed her away and went straight back to the apartment. I stopped by the florist to tell the owner I was taking some time off and told him what had happened. The owner was also very angry. He said, Anthony, you must never forgive her. People like her have psychological problems. I'll introduce you to a better girl in the future. I thanked the owner and reminded him, if Sophia causes trouble in the shop again, just call the police. It's abroad after all. Sophia can't do anything. The next afternoon, Sophia arrived downstairs where I was living. This time, she was carrying a bulging file bag. Inside were all the fireworks design drawings I had drawn. She looked at me, appearing hesitant. Anthony, I only realized later when I went to your office you designed such special fireworks for me. I really want to see them for myself. Can you grant me this wish? I stared at the drawings for a long time. They were the result of my hard work. They were a testament to my love. But everything ended when the fireworks warehouse was destroyed. It's all gone. Sophia, you burned all my fireworks. Have you forgotten? After saying that, my hands, which were trembling a little, were raised. Both hands are covered in scars. It's hard to lift them. Thanks to you, I can no longer hold a pen to design fireworks. Isn't this what you wanted, Sophia? You've already got what you wanted. Why won't you let me go? Sophia's face is full of sadness and remorse. She suddenly kneels in front of me, in tears, kept apologizing. I really like the fireworks you designed. I never wanted to hurt you. At this point, she might be telling the truth. But I didn't care anymore. Sophia started to hound me. She had somehow managed to get a large sum of money and said she was going to set up a new fireworks company for me. When she came to visit, she brought along a detailed project plan. Anthony, although you won't be able to draw them yourself in the future, you can supervise them. I've found you some obedient designers. In the future, you'll come up with the ideas, and they'll do the work. She looked at me deeply and said, I really want to see the fireworks show you designed for me with my own eyes. As long as you're happy, I'm willing to do anything. To be honest, I was annoyed by her persistence, so I just said something harsh. The fireworks factory is the hard work of several generations of our family. You've ruined it. I don't care if I find a new one. Sophia didn't give up. She even joined forces with my relatives with the last name Wilson to persuade me. But after a few days, she suddenly returned to China. Because Jonathan had run away, Sophia heard the news and angrily questioned the nanny. I locked him in the basement. How did he get out? The nanny said, trembling. Madam, it's not my fault. When I went to deliver food, he threatened me with a knife. Otherwise, I wouldn't be alive either. Sophia angrily cursed useless and hurried back to China. She had to find Jonathan quickly. Otherwise, Jonathan will sue her for intentional injury. She will have to go to prison for several years, according to her words, and haunt me for the rest of my life. How can I go to prison? It's almost the ghost festival. I'm going back to China to visit my mother's grave. When I arrived at the old family cemetery, I had just set out the offerings. I saw a figure in the distance. I didn't expect Jonathan to be in such a hurry. Sophia hasn't found him yet. He came to me first. He stood in front of my house. He looked haggard. Anthony, please help me. I will never compete with you for Sophia again. I don't want the Wilson family's place anymore. Just give me some money. I promise I will disappear forever. I stared at him coldly. Jonathan, Sophia and I have long since ended. You two were so close. Why don't you just get together? I was about to call Sophia to come and take him away. But then Jonathan suddenly pulled a dagger from his jacket and lunged at me like a madman. He shouted, Anthony, why do you have to push me to this? The tip of the knife was only a few centimeters from my face. I lifted my foot and kicked Jonathan hard. I turned around and ran. He was still chasing after me. Suddenly, I heard a screeching noise. I turned around. I saw Jonathan being hit by a car. Sophia was driving the car. Her hair was a mess. She looked like a madwoman. She stopped the car and came running over in a panic. Anthony, are you okay? As Jonathan fell into a pool of blood, our eyes met. I watched him take his last breath with such resignation. Anthony, forget it. There are no cameras here. Let's just run, Sophia shouted. Desperate, I immediately picked up my phone and called the police. The police quickly took Sophia away. She confessed to the crime at the police station. Even though the dashcam proved that she had hit the man to save me, Sophia was sentenced to life imprisonment. In her cell, she kept begging me to see her one last time. I went to see her through the glass. I noticed that she had lost a lot of weight. Her hair was cut very short. Her cheeks were sunken. She looked very haggard. I suddenly remembered the girl from my youth with her long ponytail. She smiled confidently at me. She smiled and said, Anthony, the fireworks you designed for me. I seem to see them, I said calmly. Don't be ridiculous. That was the only one. It was disposed of a long time ago, she sighed. Looking up, she reminisced. It's true, I had a dream. In the dream, no one disturbed our relationship. You set off fireworks on my 30th birthday. It was the most beautiful firework display you had ever designed. It looked like a peacock with all its colorful feathers. And then we lived happily ever after with Danny. It was perfect. What a shame. I woke up very quickly. I wish I could have stayed in that dream forever, she finished. I listened in silence. Finally, I couldn't hold back any longer. You've got it all wrong. The peacock display wasn't for you. Sophia froze. What did you say? The peacock feather fireworks were actually designed for my late mother. She loved peacocks when she was alive. This was the gift I planned to give her on the 10th anniversary of her death. The fireworks I designed for you haven't been finished yet. Right now, there's only a string of names and hearts. 3 days ago, I was going to take the final version of the drawings to the master to make them, but you ruined everything, so you won't have the chance to see it. Sophia finished. Her thin body trembled violently, so I'll never be able to see it. This is all my just desserts. I smiled helplessly. Sophia, you brought this on yourself. You can't blame anyone else. After I got out of prison, I took a deep breath of fresh air. I felt so much lighter. I gave the design for the peacock feather firework to a team. I asked them to repackage and produce this firework. The next year, on the anniversary of my mother's death, the fireworks blooming in the night sky were exceptionally dazzling. The new firework I designed went viral online. I also became famous. Several fireworks companies were impressed by my talent. Despite my injured hand, they offered me a high salary to work as a designer, but I refused. That was my last fireworks. Since then, I just want to live in seclusion in the city, grow flowers quietly,